Hello there and welcome to another devlog number 3 of my upcoming game Office Orc. And this is one of those mini games which I encountered a little thing which which pretty much tanked my performance. Of course, I knew in advance I wanted to implement it, a resource saving mechanic, which is kind of easy to pull through. So what you're seeing here, my map is quite big, and as you can see, there are maybe 1 or 2 enemies which are roaming here. As you can see, the frame rate is pretty much tanking because there are lots of objects and they have their logic and so on. So this is not the fastest way how to do this. And of course, I wanted to show you how you can actually circumvent that and make the game definitely much faster, or what traditionally games would do, because this is just way too much. They would make smaller levels with less enemies, so they had those, well, you could call it a bottleneck, where you could not make everything like you wanted. So old school games had to do this, but we have fast PCs now, so we don't need that stuff. We actually can circumvent this with a neat little trick about the instances which we are creating. So in my room I'm just having one layer where I have all my guys here, and there are 328, so just a few. Of course there will be definitely more. Then, well, I put them on one layer, and what do? I have a little controller, so I call it maze controller, and there I have an alarm which I set off once, so it starts. And then what do? I reset it so it loops, so I don't know, every 60 steps, so basically every second it resets. So what do I do here? I do 2 things. First of all, I deactivate a layer, and that means on this layer which you put in, so instances deact, this is how I call my layer, and then all the instances on that layer will be deactivated, and then I reactivate it by this neat little function which is called instance activate region, and then you can activate everything which is inside this rectangle or outside. So this is pretty sweet. Of course there is a negative version to that, it's called an instance deactivate region, but I just use the activate because the deactivate, let's say you would call that, but then you would deactivate all the instances. Let's say you're going out with your player, but you're having your particle system here, the control and other things, then he would deactivate himself, and then this is a thing which you definitely don't want to have. So just keep that in mind. So what is instance deactivate? Well, it is just basically one point which you define. So what I do, I just have my player here, yay, art 2020, yay, and then from this point on I just say, because he has an X and Y position, I just go a little bit to the left, I did go point to the right, there I define my point. And activate region works like this: you have one point you want to start from, and then you define a width and a height, and this is how you get your your shape here, almost cursed here, yeah. And then you can use this shape here, and in this shape or in this rectangle you can activate, or well, if you use deactivate, which is inside. So this is not just defining 4 points, 1 point, and then width and the height. And well, this is just basically it, no special tricks. So let's say we start it again, and I draw a rectangle around the player, so you actually can see that things are popping in and out. And of course, if you want to be a little bit more precise, you can ramp up how many times you want to refresh that thing, but I guess every second is good enough in my opinion. As you can see, we are going, then things are popping in. Of course, I made the rectangle a little bit smaller than I should, so you just see, well, first of all, that the frame rate per second is still not by 500, it's definitely like 1000 or something. So this is definitely an improvement, even though it's still, well, taking a toll on the performance, so I'm not gonna deny that. But it is definitely good. And for example, let's ramp this up, the region which we are deactivating. Let's go for, let's say, 400. 400, and then of course, because we need to define the width and the height, the double value of 400 is 800. Yay, I can count. And then let's start it again. And if it starts, start, come on. And if it starts, as you can see, well, you see that nothing is popping up in front of you, which is definitely great. Don't be confused by the line. This is for the old parameters, because, well, the rectangle needs 4 points and not the width and the height. So, as you can see, it works pretty decently, and you activate and deactivate your instances along the way. So it definitely ramps up, but of course, you need to give your system a little bit of time to update. So I don't know, for example, if you do a larger screen, so a larger check, then I would say it's definitely better to make the timer, let's say, every 3 seconds, but make it definitely bigger. I don't know, 600 or something like this. Then still see no, oh no, you will still see no difference, but it will be definitely more resource saving. So let's start it again and just play around with the values until you find a satisfying, well, how can I call it, a satisfying result, because we are deactivating quite a lot and activating as well. So does look good, 600, ooh yeah. So the bigger the area is you are activating, the more it will tank your performance. So have a smaller area and refresh it a little bit more often, but I guess you will find a sweet spot. So that was a fail. Have a good one. One up indie.